And welcome back to another edition of History in Your Own Backyard. Today we are in Oldenburg, Indiana, and we are with Gary Munchell. Gary, nice to have you.
Good to have you here, Susie. Welcome to Oldenburg.
It is gorgeous here.
It's always gorgeous here. It's just, if it's sun, great, but if it's rain, that doesn't bother us either.
What do you guys say about the rain that comes down here?
If it rains, it's either holy water or Warsteiner beer. Either way, we're happy and we give thanks. So it's always a good day here.
We give thanks. I love it. So Gary, I know that you've got a couple of spots here, your favorite historical spots, and I want you to tell me a few stories, but I really want you to get into why the Maypole is featuring the Morgan's Raider Shield.
Oh my gosh. So that Morgan's Raider Shield kind of represents all the history of Oldenburg, and we picked out the Morgan's Raider story because it's so colorful.
Right.
And just to share that with you. So think of a day like today, back in 1863. The Morgan's Raiders are camped outside of Summon, and they have a couple scouts, and they make their way to Oldenburg, and they need their shoes for their horses repaired. So they stop at an old blacksmith shop called Kessing's Blacksmith Shop, and while the shoes are being shoed, they go down to this local establishment right on the corner, which was known back then as the Kuntz's Beer Emporia. Sounds good, doesn't it?
It sounds amazing.
I wish we could go there right now, but it doesn't exist anymore. But so they're enjoying a cold one. Mr. Kessing dutifully brings down the horses, asks for payment, gives the horses back to the Morgan's Raider scouts, at which time, Susie, they made up some kind of foolishness that the quartermaster would be by later to pay them after the South won the war.
How convenient. How convenient. However, I know there's another pretty similar story, right, about the house right behind us.
There is. So the same day. So it's evening, and a couple more scouts stop in, and now they know that Mr. Klein Meyer here of the Klein Meyer establishment does a great job of mending boots. So they're in need of that, so they stop by and demand that Mr. Klein Meyer repair their boots, and they would be back in the morning to pick them up. So Mr. Klein Meyer stays up to wee hours of the morning working on the boots. In fact, his daughter is upstairs in that little dormer window overseeing and listening to the whole thing. And she accounts the fact that the next day the Raiders come back, get their boots from Mr. Klein Meyer, and he also represented a bill to them. And at which time they said, you know what, send that bill to Uncle Sam. So it wasn't a good commerce day in Oldenburg with the Morgan's Raiders.
No, I would say it was not a good day. So Gary, you've properly schooled me on this unique stone structure behind us, which is the Hugel House, correct?
You're very close. We'll take it.
All right. Well, how do you say it?
It's Hugel, so you're there.
Well, I was trying to do it fast and abrupt, you know.
I liked it. It sounded very German.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Good. Yeah. So tell us what's unique about this the Hugel House.
Well, the Hugel House has a really unique story, and the mystery of the story is explained in the stone carving that is above the doors. So as you can see, when you look at this lintel, there is an 18 on one side and 45. So we know that was built in 1845. It's a stone structure. It's one of the oldest buildings in Oldenburg. The Klein Meyer house that we just came from, Susie, that was 1840. So that might be one of the oldest. And this is certainly right next to it at 1845. But what's unique about it is there is a sickle moon and a sun, and that represents and gives us a hint of what the place was for. So Joseph and Elizabeth Hugel were the proprietors, and they had two businesses. One was a saloon, and the other was an inn or a hotel.
Oh, okay.
So the story goes that a weary traveler would come to Oldenburg and go into the saloon side, which that's where the sickle moon is, and they would have their schnapps and their beer and say hi to Mr. Hugel,
yeah,
and have some food and enjoy themselves. And then when they're ready, they'd walk out at night, go in the other door where the sun was, kind of sleep off the food and the long day and maybe what they had to drink and eat.
yeah.
But the next day they would come out all lit up like the newborn sun that's over the door. So that's the story of that stone carving above the Hugel House.
I'm a fan. So would that have anything to do with the wall that's so bowed out on the side of the house? I mean, you know this, right? We've seen it. Tell us the story. You got to know what's behind that.
We were hoping you wouldn't notice that, but now that you brought that up, no, I'm just kidding. No, it's kind of a neat story. So legend has it that Mr. Hugel was quite the winemaker. That's why he had a saloon, right, and an inn next door.
We would have been good friends.
Yes, yes, yes. So no, Mr. Hugel, great winemaker, kept a stash in the back. But during the building of the house, legend has it that maybe Mr. Hugel was a little bit too liberal with his product, with the stonemasons putting up the building. So what looks bowed out to us probably looked pretty level to them while they were doing it.
Oh my gosh, that is great. That's an awesome story.
Yes,
I love
yes.
it.
So there's a lot of great history, a lot of colorful history. I think one of my favorites, and it's presented in the history book, is maybe somewhat fictional, but mostly factual. So we'll stay with that, and I'll tell you what might be questionable.
Okay.
So when the Holy Family Church steeple was finished, it's been said that one morning all the parishioners heard some kind of eerie yodeling going, like it was coming down from the heavens, and everyone gathered around and they looked up, and sure enough, a local carpenter back then. And this was back in July. It was on July 4th, 1892 was the date. So Lewis Ferry was found on top of the steeple on the newly positioned cross, yodeling and doing his own celebratory jig. And so that shocked a lot of the parishioners. So that part is supposed to be factual. And we also know that they unveiled the cross, right? And the parishioners loved it, and they sang Grosser Gott, which is an old German hymnal. So praising God for the new steeple and the brand new cross. Now the fictional part, but it is in the history book, is that Lewis Ferry then unfastened a bottle of beer and without any support stood on the right arm of the cross, balanced himself, and downed the whole bottle. And everyone cheered for him. So I'm not sure if that happened or not, but I like to think it did.
I would like to think it did too. I think given the spirit of the cross and the wine and all that, why not?
Yeah, it's part of the spirit of Oldenburg. Think big, right?
Think big. I love it. And in that spirit, rumor has it at one point there were 14 saloons here. Any truth to that?
I'm not sure how you found that out, but there is some truth to that. There was 14 saloons at one time and a brewery on top of that. And I was told that back then, when there was 14 saloons, when Father Rudolph was the pastor many years ago, he expected everybody to attend Friday night services. Everybody. So the young men in town, the firemen and so forth, would attend. But after the service, they told Father Rudolph they would do their own 14 stations of the cross and visit those saloons. So, what a great thing for a Friday night. You go to church and then you relax a little bit.
There you go. That's the spirit.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I have a list of those 14 saloons and the names, and my favorite name of all of them was called the Golden Mudder, which means Golden Mama. Oh, and another place, just like that Kuntz's Beer Emporia, wouldn't it have been great to have a pint there?
I think maybe somebody should bring it back.
Yes, let's go half and half, and we'll take it over. We'll start it again.
All right, business plans are be in the works. Gary, you've been great. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you guys for being here. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Thanks.
It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you for watching another edition of History in Your Own Backyard here from Oldenburg, Indiana. Remember, travel slowly and stop often. Bye for now.